Hello, my name is Steven, and welcome to my YouTube tutorial, where we're going to soon learn how to install the Abyss web server from Aprelium on Debian Linux. Today we're going to look at how to access the server. You would be seeing this on your actual computer you installed it on. Well, how do you access it remotely? Because what if you're on a Windows system and you want to access your server, but you don't actually want to be typing on the keyboard of the server? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We actually do need to log into it first, and so I'm going to go ahead and log in as root. We want to be getting away from that pretty soon. We learned about sudo in the last tutorial, and that's a much better way to work with the server. Okay, what we need to test for real quick is, what is our IP address? IP space A, or if you want the longer form, IP space ADDR. It'll give us the address of our web server. And so you can see mine right here, 192.168.11.93. Okay, and that's actually all I need, and so I'm going to actually go ahead and log out. Okay, and now how can we access the server without actually being on the computer itself that the server is running on? For that, we need to look for PuTTY. That's a program on Windows that you can use to log into your Linux system. And I already have the download link selected. Actually, it's putty.org, and when you go to putty.org, download PuTTY, you go here. And that's the page I have here. Okay, so you're going to download PuTTY. For the Windows installer, you can get 32-bit or 64-bit. Whatever you're running, click it, install it, and you'll be good to go. Now I'm going to tell you about the other programs right now. The other one is WinSCP. And SCP is, I believe, a secure copy protocol, something built into Linux, and this is the Windows version, so it's WinSCP. And so you can go ahead and go to the download page for WinSCP, and that's here, and download it, install it. And then thirdly, get FileZilla. Download FileZilla. I have that page here. Now, I do want to make a note about FileZilla client for Windows. If you just download this one right here, this big nice green button that attracts your attention is going to bundle junk in it that you don't want. FileZilla Plus offers. We don't want that. So in order to get around that, we want to go to Show Additional Download Options. Click that, and this page loads up. Not as great on the eye candy, but nonetheless you can get what you want. You can get a portable version, or you can get the setup executable. So just choose 64-bit, 32-bit, and go ahead and install that. Okay, with that software installed, we can actually put this away. This would actually be the screen that is on your server computer that's up and running with Linux. And we're going to access it with PuTTY. And so just type in your IP address, and the port is 22. And we're going to log in. Okay, the first thing it tells me is the server's host key is not cached in the registry. You have no guarantee that the server is the computer you think it is. If we trust the host, hit yes, and it'll add it to the PuTTY cache, and we won't see this security alert again. So hit yes, and now I can log in. One thing to mention, you can't log in as root, but that's okay. And so enter your password, and there we go. If you want to log in as root, I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. Now in PuTTY, as opposed to the other two programs we're going to look at, I can become root. I can do SU and then type in the root password.
I must type it in wrong. Let's try again.
There we go. Now I'm root. Now you will not be able to execute the SU command and type in a password in WinSCP or FileZilla. So I'm going to show you how to take care of that. Alright, since I'm root, which I need to be to modify this file, we need to go into the etc folder and to the SSH folder. So etc SSH. Now what's in that folder? We're going to see sshd config, and we're going to modify that file. Okay, so remember our editor to work with files is nano and sshd config. If you perchance want to run on a different port for SSH for logging in like this with PuTTY, you can just take off this number or pound sign, and then you can say 232 or whatever you want. I don't want to change it, so I'm just going to leave it commented out. But if you want to change the port, that's what you do. If you have multiple IP addresses, you can tell it only listen on this address for IPv4 and this one for IPv6. Here's where we want to be. Authentication. Permit root login. Now, first of all, it's commented out, and it says prohibit -password. Now, if you want to be able to log in as root with FileZilla or WinSCP, what you have to do is put this line in your configuration file somewhere. Permit root login and type yes. And that's all you have to do for that. If you want to save the file, just select the exit command, which is Control-X. Save modified buffer, you'll hit Y. I'm not actually going to save, I'm going to hit N, but you would say Y. Then it will prompt you for a file name, and it's going to put in the same file that you're actually modifying, and so you just hit Enter. So in order to save, you just hit Y to this prompt here, and then you'd press Enter, but I'm going to press N for now. And then that will save the file. If you want to verify that it has saved, just do ls-al, and then you look at your file, and you'll see the current time. And then you know it's been saved. Now, there's one more step you have to do in order to make it take effect, and that is typing the word service, space, SSH, I believe there's a D on the end, and then type restart. So service, SSHD, restart. Done. And then the modifications you made will take effect. And so then you'll be able to log in as root. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and become the regular user again. And so I'm in Windows, running a Windows program, but I'm actually connected directly to the system, my server system. Now, if you're on your actual server itself, and you're curious, is anyone else logged in? I'll show you how to do that. And so I'm going to log in as root, and I'm going to put in my password, and just type the letter W and hit enter. And then it'll tell you who's connected and some other information. I'm going to log out. Okay, and I'm actually going to exit PuTTY now. And you can see the same information there. Now we're going to go ahead and enter the information in WinSCP. Port 22, you have different options here. We want SCP. Type in your username. Since we enabled root, we can go ahead and log in as root. And then you hit save. If you don't want to always have to enter your password, hit save password. It's not recommended, obviously, because anyone that opens up WinSCP can now become your root user, and that's a security nightmare if they do things you don't want them to do. But if you trust yourself and you don't think anyone else will be on the computer, no big deal. Save the password, and there it is. So click it, log in, done. There you go. And you can also log in actually as your other user, which when we start transferring files that you're actually going to put on your web server, we will log in as the unprivileged user, but we're not there yet. Okay, and so this is WinSCP. You can go to your different directories, you can copy stuff over, and you can drag and drop files back and forth. Very handy. With WinSCP, another handy feature, right click, new, you can create a new file. We'll just call it ASDF. And then you have a nice editor to work with, and you can, type in whatever you want, save it, and we'll go ahead and save it just for fun. and there it is. You can right click on the file and you can hit Properties. Now you can see the permissions and modify them. And I didn't tell you this, but when you do chmod, which changes permissions, there's also a numerical way to represent the permissions. So if you want read and write only to the owner, that would be 0600. If you only want to be able to read it and no one else have any more privileges, it's 0400. And I'll leave that to you to figure out the connection between the two. It's not super complicated, but it's nothing you really need to know, so we'll just keep it like that. So, long story short, you can modify the permissions of a file. And if you happen to have two files, I'm just typing in gibberish here to make two files very quickly. I can hold down, I'm selecting one file, I'm hitting Control, and I'm selecting a second file. And then I'm going to right click, Properties, and I'm going to set the permissions for both files. So now they're both the same, rw-r, and that's it. So you can modify multiple files' permissions at the same time. And you can do the same for the owners of the file also. And that right here, you can type in the group and the owner that you want. And so you can make the changes on multiple files at the same time. And then the delete button, we can get rid of the file. Alright, so WinSCP is very handy. I love it. It's a great program. Use it all the time. So I exit out of that, hit OK. Now we're going to load up FileZilla. Okay, I've already typed everything in here. You need port 22 there so it knows that it's connecting over SFTP. If I were to put SFTP:// then I can get rid of the 22 because the protocol default is port 22, so you don't have to enter it. And it tells you that right there. Quick connect, boom, now we're in. And we can access anything, and this is just your standard FileZilla interface. You can drag and drop files either way. You can create a file, and just say SDF again. Alright, lovely. File permissions, and you can change it again, or you can enter the numerical value, and there you go. You can delete files, you can do most of the same stuff. So these are ways to work with your system. The command line, you use PuTTY. If you want to transfer files, move files on the server, working with files, you want to use WinSCP or FileZilla. So I hope that's been helpful to you. And like I said, if you want to log in as root, you have to make that change in the /etc/ssh/sshd_config, I believe the file was. And you permit root logins, yes. And so then you can log in as root. Most of the time you shouldn't do that though. That's not wise. If someone's able to brute force your password for your root, you'd be in big trouble. So it's generally recommended don't log in as root, and that would be my advice to you, but that's up to you. If you already made the change like I did, so you can log in as root, and you want to disallow that permission, just put the # in front of that line that we changed, and then you'll be able to make it so root can't log in anymore. And that's a good idea from a security standpoint. The IP address again. Yeah, I don't know why it goes on the other screen. There we go. And there's my password. Okay. The other thing I wanted to show you is how to copy and paste. You're going to do this a lot. If you want to copy, just select with your mouse. You can do multiple lines. And once you let up the mouse, it's already copied. And there it is. Now what if you want to paste? Okay, so let's just type the word some text, select it, copy. Go into PuTTY, right click. There you go. So again, to copy and paste, to copy from PuTTY, just select the text, and as soon as you let the mouse up, it's already copied, and you can paste it. If you want to go from Notepad or some other program, select it, copy, go into PuTTY, right click, and there it is. So I hope this tutorial has been handy for you. We're actually going to, in our next tutorial, install the Abyss web server. Finally, what we've been shooting for this whole time. And so stay tuned for the next tutorial, and I'll catch you later.